Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. Come closer and be dazzled. It's time for Yamishibai's dark stories. We will start today's video with the short story called The Talisman's Woman. A young boy moves into a new apartment. He feels tired from carrying so many boxes around, but he is happy in the place he will be living from now on. After an exhausting day, the boy lies down on the floor of the apartment to rest for a few moments. As he does so, he notices that there is a papered talisman fixed to his ceiling. It looked very bizarre and made him wonder if this place was really safe. While thinking about who could have placed the talisman in his house, the boy realizes that he is being atoned for by a woman who lived across the street from his house. The next day, the boy leaves his house to go to work. He also carries some bags to throw in the trash, but while performing his routine task, he realizes that the same woman is watching him. His only reaction is to run out of there to get to work. At the end of the day, the new resident talks to a colleague from the office. He explains about the suspicious attitude of his new neighbor. However, his colleague just ignores his problem and says that he will not be able to help him because he is going out on a date with his girlfriend. The young man is disappointed by this, and returns home with a feeling of uncertainty. As he stands in front of the door to his house, he realizes that the lock is open and wonders if he forgot to lock it before leaving. But in the end he doesn't care about that, because he is exhausted. The young man just lies down on the floor of the house, and when he opens his eyes, he realizes that there is another talisman fixed to the ceiling. The young man is intrigued by this and gets up to pull the talisman out again, but at this moment he is surprised by his bizarre neighbor inside the house. The boy quickly triggers the local police and his mysterious neighbor is arrested for trespassing. But before the woman is taken away, she whispers a few words, which the young boy cannot understand. That same day, the new resident returns to his house and begins to clean his tatami, because the invader entered the place with her dirty shoes from the street. He is enraged to be cleaning up someone else's mess, but while performing his task, he notices that a talisman falls under his desk. The boy is intrigued and turns the piece of furniture over. As he does so, he realizes that underneath it, there are several talismans attached to it. He quickly removes and tears up all the papers, and is in a state of panic when he sees that he is surrounded by countless macabre spirits. So let's move on to the second story, called The Family Rule. Toshiharu and his family move to a house in the countryside. The place is far away from other residents and surrounded by a large forest. The boy's parents gather with the other members of the family in a room, while Toshiharu is forced to stay on the balcony of the house so as not to overhear the conversation. The grandfather of the family tells the boy's father that he is a new member in his family. For this reason he must participate in an ancestral ritual that takes place every year on July 22nd. The old man explains that all the members of the family must get together and laugh all night long. This ritual is called Calm Through Laughter. The grandfather says that the main objective is to drive away an evil entity that provokes fear, hatred, and sadness. For this reason one must laugh without stopping, otherwise the evil spirit will take possession of the person, causing him to lose his sanity completely. Toshiharu is moved by his curiosity and tries to listen to some of the conversation, but can't. Then his father talks to him and asks him that night, the little boy sleeps alone in his room, because the whole family will gather at night in the grandfather's room. Toshiharu tries to question his father about this, but the man only asks him not to disobey him. During the night, the boy, who was sleeping peacefully, wakes up wanting to go to the bathroom. He opens his bedroom door and walks out onto the balcony of the house. On the way, the boy hears a lot of laughter coming from his grandfather's room. He approaches the door and observes that his parents and all his relatives are laughing with clown-like faces. One of the family members notices the presence of the child on the scene and quickly approaches him. The bedroom door is opened and Toshiharu apologizes for being in the way, at which point everyone watches him with a bizarre expression. His father points his finger in the direction of the forest, and then the balcony door opens. The little boy looks back and realizes that something is approaching, but he can't move because of the great fear he is feeling, and in a few seconds, something advances towards Toshiharu. Then the laughter that was echoed throughout the house before turns into several cries of despair. The third story is titled as The Next Floor. A family goes to a shopping mall to buy their son's birthday present, but the father gets a sudden phone call to go to work and tries to explain to his son about the inconvenience. He says that the boy's mother will still be there looking for the perfect gift. The mother approaches the boy and confirms that they will do the shopping together, since the little boy's father prefers to give more importance to his work than to his own family. The man denies that he values his work more than his son, but he needed to leave, so he says goodbye to his family and gets into the elevator with other people. In the elevator, the man reflects that he always works hard to support his wife and child, so he would like to have just a moment of peace. At this moment a woman in a yellow hat and clothes says that his wish will come true, and the man finds this rather sinister, but ignores it. Soon after, the woman says that she will make her first stop on the B4 floor, which was strange, because the building has only floors B1 and B2. Also, the lights that signal the floor in the elevator are not working. Upon arriving at floor B4, everyone who was in the elevator leaves without saying a word. The floor on which they got off was completely dark and scary. Then the elevator doors close and the woman says that the next stop is floor B13. On the new floor, the doors open and the man observes that it is again a dark place, but with some red emergency lights. Just then, someone starts running toward the elevator, but before he can reach it, the doors quickly close. The man desperately asks the woman to take him back to his floor. He approaches her and realizes that it was only a mannequin, which causes him to panic completely. But before he can do anything, the elevator stops at a new floor. The doors open and he sees that it is a normal place, brightly lit and with several stores. The man quickly gets out of the elevator and tries to calm down, but as he does so he realizes that there are no people on that floor. The lights start to turn off and a voice informs him that the mall will be closing soon. He looks back to the elevator and notices that the same woman is inside again. She then calmly tells him to enjoy his moment of peace. Our fourth dark story is called The Overhead Rack. After another day at work, a man returns home on a train. He is completely exhausted, and because of this he begins to enter a state of panic within his own mind. The people around him begin to talk about everyday matters and he becomes enraged to hear all those voices. The man searches for a brief moment of silence, but cannot. While completely confused, he notices something bizarre in the luggage compartment of the train, something with a reddish coloring and seen before by that man. He begins to wonder if other people have not noticed this bizarreness in the train. At this moment a sudden stop is made by the train. The driver informs all passengers that there has been an accident involving a person. A relief operation will be initiated and for this reason the electricity would be cut off temporarily for the safety of all workers. The man quickly realizes that the bizarre creature was no longer in the same place. He believes he was just hallucinating. Then the lights go out and the emergency lighting is activated. At that moment, the man realizes that the creature was just above him, and that it was making a terrifying sound with its bizarre teeth. Then an eye emerges from its body and moves closer and closer to the man, who panics at this scene. The man deduces that this is caused by his stress at work. Now he is sure that he needs to stop working so hard and will urgently seek medical help. In a few seconds the creature was already covering part of his body and whispering a few words. The man begins to feel an inexplicable cold and says that he doesn't want to lose his life at that moment, but it seems to be something inevitable. The sinister creature begins to say that he feels a lot of pain and total exhaustion, at which point the monster wraps a large part of the man's body and they both say that soon they will feel much better. The fifth story is titled as Contradiction. In the middle of a rainy night, Yuko receives a call around 11 o'clock. She answers her phone and hears that her friend Mayumi is on the other end of the line. The girl is terrified and tries to explain what happened. Mayumi says that she was driving around with her boyfriend Toru, when he decided to enter a haunted hospital that was abandoned on the border. As they entered the place, the girl reports that she had the impression that something was watching them at all times. She says she felt scared of that place and asked to leave, but Toru thought it was funny to see her scared, so he decided to explore the place. He ran through the corridors and came to a locked door, where he said they should go in anyway. Mayumi reports that she was even more frightened, because her boyfriend's behavior changed completely. He used a rock to break the lock and entered the room. The girl says that she tried to stop him, but it was too late, because he was completely out of his mind and all she could do was run away from that place. Mayumi states that she left Toru alone in the hospital and asks Yuko if she can sleep over at his place. The girl readily agrees and asks her friend to explain more about this bizarre situation when she arrives. Also in the call, Mayumi says that she can't stand being in that dark place anymore and starts to question if she can really get out of there and go to her friend's house. Yuko thought the girl had already fled the place and begins to suspect the strange way Mayumi is talking. At that very moment, Toru knocks on Yuko's door looking for help. He begs her to let him in. The boy reports that he was in the abandoned hospital with Mayumi and they both intended to conduct a test of courage, but during the exploration, his girlfriend began to exhibit strange behavior. Toru says that the girl started running to a locked door, where she used a rock to destroy the lock and enter the room. When the boy found her he realized that Mayumi looked bizarre, as if she had someone else's face. On the phone, Mayumi keeps asking if she can really leave and go to her friend's house. She asks several times until she hangs up the phone. Yuko trusts Toru and walks to the door to open it. As she does so, she is confronted with a bizarre creature. The boy's eyes were completely dark, while blood was dripping all over his face. As he comes face to face with Yuko, he asks if he could enter. So let's move on to the sixth story, titled Cursed. In a certain town, a girl spends most of her day in her room. She does not wish to be seen by anyone. This is due to several strange marks that have suddenly appeared on her body. On any given day, Katona's mother comes into her room and tells her daughter that she has found someone who can help her with her problem. The girl replies that she no longer has any hope, because they always say they cannot solve her problem. So, that night, mother and daughter go to a temple far away from the city that is located deep in a forest. There, they are met by a priestess who quickly observes the critical condition of Katona's body. The woman explains that those stains are caused by the hatred of her ancestors. The girl's mother questions why her daughter suffers like that because of her ancestry. The priestess, however, only replies that she will immediately begin preparations for the ritual. That night, the girl is placed in a circle of candles and is extremely frightened. The ritual begins, and when the priestess runs her hand lightly over Katona's face, the marks on her body disappear in an instant. The next day, the girl realizes that her problem has been solved, and next to her mother, they thank her and say goodbye to the woman. A few days later, Katona's mother receives a call from the temple, and one of the members informs her that the priestess has passed away. The man reports that his superior became concerned about Katona's future, and in her last days of life, she acquired for herself the marks that were once on the girl's body. In her last words, she prayed that Katona would spend the rest of her days in good health. The girl's mother is shocked to hear this. At that very moment, her daughter is leaving to go to school. The girl is happy to have a normal life after so long, but an obscure red spot appears on her neck and suddenly attacks her. So let's go to today's 7th story, called The Tominari. After her classes are over, a girl goes home, but on her way she comes across a group of children living in a housing complex. She is curious, because they are all standing around something, and the girl approaches them and asks what they are looking at. One of the boys replies that they are watching Tominari. The young girl then realizes that there is a big dark spot on the ground. The children say that Tominari wants to play with the girl, but she replies that she will play with them another day, as she has some school lessons to do. When the girl gets home and looks back, she realizes that neither the boys nor the shadow were there anymore. The next day, the girl goes out in the morning and meets again with the group of children. They say that the girl has promised to play with them and Tominari, but she replies that she is late and will not be able to play at that time. On the way to her class, the girl wonders how the group of children knew that she was going to leave at that moment. When she returns home at the end of the day, the girl starts to hear a group of children calling for Tominari. She opens the door and says that Tominari is not at her house, but one of the kids points his finger at the ceiling and says that he came to play with her. The student starts to get angry and asks the children to leave, so the group keeps spying outside. Suddenly the girl is startled when she looks into the shadows and sees that a head is sticking out of her ceiling. Tominari says he has come to play with her, just as she promised. In the distance, the children notice that the girl is being pulled up to the ceiling, but will be happy to play with Tominari. Then the group of kids look at the floor and realize that the young girl has joined Tominari. Our last story today is titled, Tormentor. A trio of friends gather after school to observe an abandoned house. Shota uses a binocular to see it, but doesn't see any movement in the house. The boy asks his friends what is there to make them so curious to see. One of the boys replies that there was an entity there and no one should look at it. The young man also says that his grandmother went to that same house to visit a friend when she was still a child, and after that she never saw her again. After telling this strange story, the boy says that he still has a lot of homework and that he needs to leave. They say goodbye and only Shota and Taichi remain in the place. Shota then tells his friend that he is seeing something with his binoculars. Some people are leaving the house blindfolded and another person is dancing behind everyone. Taichi becomes curious and takes his friend's binocular, trying to observe with his own eyes. However, he goes into a state of shock and begins to move in a strange way. The next day, Shota goes to Taichi's house to return the binocular, and the boy's father thanks him and informs him that his son will no longer be able to play with it, since he will be studying in Tokyo. Shota is saddened by the news and notices that there is movement at his friend's house. Taichi's father asks Shota not to try to see what is going on and says that the boy can keep the binoculars for himself. So late that afternoon, the boy walks back to his house, but decides to use the binoculars to see if he can observe his friend one last time before he leaves. As he does so, Shota can see a strange movement around the house. Then he notices that the boy's father is desperately shouting something to him. At the same moment, Taichi advances toward his friend with bizarre movements, allowing him to see him for the last time. Tell me, which of these stories you would be able to escape alive? So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.